Hello champions and future champions, hello Chessmood family. GM Gabuzyan is here with you and we're beginning with our daily lesson. Today we're going to cover the topic of Queen G4, Queen G5 moves when our opponent's bishop is on F8. So what it means? That in some positions we're making move like Queen G4, and when this bishop is not yet developed, it's having some difficulties. Sometimes we're forcing to weaken the position, or sometimes we're preventing opponent to castle. So this is the move we're going to cover today. For example, in this position it has happened. If here black was playing with G6, it's weakening the dark squares and this diagonal. So in a little while we're planning to use this. We're playing knight c5, bishop c5, bishop a4 check. And after king f8, since there is a weakness on g7 square, we're having bishop h6 check. Now, after king g8, we're winning with knight e6. On top of this concrete tactic, our bishop on h6 was just preventing this side of the board from development. So, this was the idea. It has happened queen g4. And in the game, it has happened h5 move. So, queen g3, pawn b3, black is trying to prevent this bishop a4 check, but now is losing some material. So, knight c5, b takes c2, and knight d e6, a very strong concrete move which is exactly winning the game. If now black takes, white is easily winning with queen g6 check, king e7, and queen e6 checkmate. So for this reason, after knight d6, black can't be taking, but after queen a5, white has a strong b4 move. Since there was a checkmate on e1, we are trying to bring this queen to b4 spot. In idea with bishop a3 to win a tempo, since now we are protecting the rook and attacking the queen. And after h4, queen h3, queen b5 and knight d4, white is having a huge advantage and is going to win this position since black king is in a center. If you're interested to see the continuation of this game, it's Ragozin perk. Let's go ahead now to see the next position, guys. Again, another time, it's white to move, and it's no need to ask you what white will be playing here, since I'm sure you play here queen g4. Again, this bishop can't be moving, and the good news is that our pawn on h5 also fixing this pawn, so g6 is also not an option. For this reason, black now is stuck in a center, and we will be slowly using the absence of rook on h8, so we'll be playing with an extra rook on the queen side. It's happening. Knight b3, rook b1, knight c1, rook takes c1. The idea of white is very simple. In a little while, white will be differently pushing the c-pawn and having a great advantage. One more time, the rook on h8 is out of the game, which makes a lot of sense, and black will be just lost. So it's happening queen c7, attacking the pawn on e5. And white here is deciding to play already knight d6 check. Bishop takes e d6. The good news about this trade is that after queen d6 and queen g7, black will never be able to castle firstly. Also, after rook f8, at some spot, white will be able to take on h6 to create the second passed pawn. Rook still will be inactive, king never finds safety, and after some c5, queen c6 and rook c4, white is just having a great advantage. So, one more time, obtaining it with the beginning queen g4 move, spotting the pawn on g7. Let's now go ahead to see the next position. In this position, it's black to move, and this is my favorite example in this topic. So, the first move is really obvious. We're going queen g5 and preventing bishop e2 move. But what's happening further is really fascinating. Now if white is going h4, we go queen g6, still attacking the pawn on g2. h5 doesn't make sense since we go queen g5 and this pawn will become a weakness, so we will be able to play some h6, knight f6. h6 is also not dangerous since we will be able to play g6 and this pawn will be lost, we will be able to go some knight f6, knight g4 in future, so it's not a threat. After queen g6, if white goes rook h3, trying to go for rook g3, we're going here knight f6, rook g3, queen h6, again attacking the pawn and winning it. It also doesn't work for white. For this reason, after queen g5, white is trying to play g3, logical move in order to play some bishop g2 and castle. But the thing is that now we go knight f6, bishop g2, queen h5. Now the bad news is that if white castles, we will play bishop h3, followed by knight g4, which will be very dangerous for the king side. So white is deciding not to go for this, and in this position is playing h3 in order to prevent this kind of moves. But the thing is now this pawn will be under attack all the time, and this is a great masterpiece how black is all the time preventing white from castling. So black goes bishop d7. Now this spot is under attack, so no castle, and rook c8 is coming. Since now we're playing with an extra rook on the queen side, as rook on h1 is inactive, we need to double up through the c file. a4, rook ac8, queen b2, rook c6, rook c1. Now the first part of idea is done. Black is controlling the c file. Takes, rook c8. White goes queen b2, and now b5, very strong move again. If your white takes, black will be able to take with the bishop, threatening a mat on e2, and as well now there is no way for castling of white since this diagonal is under control. For this reason, after b5 move, white is playing here bishop f1. Now black takes on a4 and is opening more lines, so ba4, bishop a4. Since the king is in the center, it's useful for us to open as much as possible. Here queen d1 is a checkmate threat. White goes bishop e2, and still queen f5 we're playing. Now the h3 spot is still under control and no castle. So now white is trying to take on a6, bishop a6, and will already go rook c2. Queen b8 is not a dangerous check since we have knight e8 move, and now this king is completely abandoned. Rook c1 is a threat, and white can't be castling since we're having rook takes d2 move, so it's not working. For this reason, after rook c2, white goes queen a3, trying to keep an eye on c1 square. And here again it comes. We go queen e6. Still our queen is keeping an eye on this pawn, but it's not the case. Now the bishop on a6 is handling with the tempo. And if white takes on a4, we give a check and we're winning the exchange with the rook h1 move. So queen e6, white goes bishop b7. And another good move now, queen d7. Protecting the bishop, attacking this bishop, and still keeping an eye on spot on h3. So it's happening rook f1. White is just trying to make a move since everything is hanging. Now black is not taking on b7 since there is some queen a4. Just playing very smart move, which is h6, in order to get prevented all kind of checkmates from the 8th rank, since white has no improvement in this position. And the final idea is coming here. Bishop a8, since white has no moves, bishop b5, attacking the rook with a tempo. And after rook g1, the very beautiful queen a7 move. Now, if white is not taking, this bishop will be lost since it's under attack with a tempo. Or, whenever white takes, there is a very beautiful rook c1 checkmate. So, with this beginning queen g5 move, all the time black was preventing white from castling and eventually managed to get this king checkmated, guys. Let's now go ahead to the next position. Here again, it's white to move. And this time, instead of going with the queen to g4, white is choosing the square on g3. It's almost the same, but the good news is that after some kind of queen c6 move, bishop f4 is with a tempo, so we're attacking the pawn on c7. Another purpose of this was that after queen g3, if black is playing g6, again bishop f4 is a tempo, as the pawn is hanging. And after c6, we are able to play bishop e5. Attacking the rook and leaving black without the castle. Or if after bishop f4 black plays bishop g7, we are now able to take on c7, and after bishop d4 to play bishop d6, another time preventing black from castling. Taking on b2 is not a threat as well, since we're able to go rook b1, double up through the b file, and this king will be very much bothered since it's on e8 square. So, for this reason we go queen g3, queen c6, bishop f4 with a tempo, rook c8, and rook fe1. Now white is also activating the rook, and after king d7, which was played, some bishop d2 with a nice advantage, since black king is stuck in the center. Let's now go ahead to the next position, which will be your homework for this topic. This will be the test for these positions, guys. You can share your thoughts and ideas in the comment section below. Gabuzyan was here with you. Thank you for subscriptions, likes, and sharing this video with your friends. We appreciate it a lot. See you next time during our next daily lessons.